Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to day 19 of our Bhakti Vaibhava seminar on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6. And today we are continuing with chapter 9. First of all, our prayers. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Deshatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchkalpatarubhyas Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Yes, okay, so we're in chapter 9 of the 6th canto, and we are in, let's just check which section. We're in section 6 from verse 31 to verse 45. This is the demigods with further prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead on seeing Vritrasura, who is such a shocking looking being. Yeah, and they thought, we're in very serious trouble here if we have to sort of confront this person. Verse 34. O Lord, you need no support, and although you have no material body, you do not need cooperation from us. Since you are the cause of the cosmic manifestation, and you supply its material ingredients without being transformed, you create, maintain, and annihilate this cosmic manifestation by yourself. Nevertheless, although you appear engaged in material activity, you are transcendental to all material qualities. Consequently, these transcendental activities of yours are extremely difficult to understand. Right, okay. So let's have a look at Srila Prabhupada's purport. Prabhupada refers to Brahma Samhita chapter 6, verse 37, Goloka eva nivasat yakilatma bhuta, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is always situated in Goloka Vrindavan. And it's also said, along those same lines, and elsewhere Prabhupada quotes this on quite a number of occasions, Vrindavanam parityaja padam ekam na gacchati, that Krishna never goes even a step from Vrindavan. But even though Krishna is in Goloka Vrindavan, he is simultaneously all-pervading. Isn't this interesting? Apparent contradiction. So Prabhupada makes the point, it is difficult for non-devotees to understand this. But the devotees understand how he changelessly can be in his abode and be all pervasive. And we just remember the famous story of Narada Muni with the cobbler and the Brahmin. I'll just very briefly mention it, that Narada Muni was on his way to see the Supreme Lord. He stopped to visit the Brahmin, who was great devotee, and the cobbler asked Narada, when you see the Lord, can you ask him, how long will it be before I go back to Godhead? Then he went and visited a puffed up, proud Brahmin who asked the same question, that I know I'm very qualified, so it must be quite soon, but I'd like to just know really exactly when. So Narada asked the Lord about these two devotees, and the Lord said, well, that cobbler, he's such a humble devotee, he's coming back to me at the end of this life. But this Brahmin, he's so proud and arrogant that even though I'm the Supreme Lord, even though I don't know when he's coming back. And then the Lord noticed that Narada was didn't know quite how to deal with this. So the Lord said to him, if you want to understand why I've said this, then when you visit these devotees, you tell them that when you were with me, I was busy putting an elephant through the eye of a needle. See how they react, then you'll understand. So first he went to the Brahmin, and the Brahmin asked, so when am I going back? I know it'll be very soon. But Narada said, actually, the Lord told me that even though he's the Lord, he still doesn't know when you're going back to Godhead. And the Brahmin became angry and told Narada, just get out. So then Narada went to the cobbler, who was a great devotee, and told him that, yes, the Lord said you're coming back to him at the end of this life. The cobbler, of course, was very happy. But then Narada mentioned to him that, when I was with the Lord, he was busy threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. What do you think of that? And the cobbler said, that's wonderful. That's just great. My Lord is so great. And Narada asked him, so you believe that? And the cobbler said, sure, no problem. And he picked up he was sitting under a banyan tree, he picked up a banyan seed pod and opened it. And inside were many, many seeds, many, many seeds. And the cobbler said to Narada, you see here, all these seeds, each seed is one banyan tree, which will be much bigger than an elephant. And so you can say, in a sense, so many elephants, so to speak, are in this little seed pod. So for my Lord to put an elephant through the eye of a needle, that's nothing for him. So for the non-devotees, it's very difficult to understand these extraordinary transcendental qualifications of the Lord. But for the devotees, it's very easy. Yes, so anyway, continuing with the purport, the demigods are the limbs of the Lord's body. But he doesn't need anyone's help to do anything. He's spread everywhere, but he is not present everywhere in his spiritual body. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, according to the Mayavad philosophy, the supreme truth, being all-pervasive, does not need a transcendental form. The Mayavadis suppose that since his form is distributed everywhere, he has no form. This is untrue. The Lord keeps his transcendental form, and at the same time he extends everywhere, in every nook and corner of the material creation. Yes, so on to verse 35. These are our inquiries. The ordinary conditioned soul is subject to the material laws, and he thus receives the fruits of his actions. Does your lordship, like an ordinary human being, exist within this material world in a body produced by the material modes? Do you enjoy or suffer the good or bad results of actions under the influence of time, past work, and so forth? Or on the contrary, are you present here only as a neutral witness who is self-sufficient, free from all material desires, and always full of spiritual potency? We certainly cannot understand your actual position. Yes, so let's look at the purport. Prabhupada points out that in Bhagavad Gita, it's actually chapter 4, verse 8, Krishna says he comes for two purposes: paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya chaduskritam, to relieve the devotees and kill the demons or non-devotees. For the Lord, these two purposes, these two activities are the same. Because when he punishes the demons, he favors them, he gives them favor. And when he delivers the devotees, he gives mercy to the devotees like that. He is giving them his favor. Yes. So therefore he favors equally the conditioned souls. But when a conditioned soul helps others, he acts piously. But when he gives trouble to others, he acts impiously. But the Lord is neither pious nor impious. He's always full in spiritual potency, by which he shows equal mercy to the punishable and the protectable. In other words, he shows equal mercy by punishing and protecting. So therefore the Lord is known as apapa vidham. He is never contaminated by the reactions of sinful activities. So when Lord Krishna was here, he killed many demons, and they all got sarupya mukti. They all got put back into their original spiritual positions, generally in the spiritual world. So, but anyone who doesn't know the Lord's position will say that God is unkind to him, but kind, merciful to others. Doesn't understand that it's all kindness. So Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, actually the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 9 verse 29, Samoham sarvabhuteshu na me dveshosti na priyaha. I'm equal to everyone. No one is my enemy and no one is my friend. But then he also says, Ye bhajanti tamam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. If one becomes my devotee and fully surrenders unto me, I give him special attention. Verse 36. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all contradictions can be reconciled in you. O Lord, since you're the Supreme Person, the reservoir of unlimited spiritual qualities, the Supreme Controller, your unlimited glories are inconceivable to the conditioned souls. Yes. Because of you having these qualities. Many modern theologians argue about right and wrong without knowing what is actually right. Their arguments are always false, and their judgments inconclusive, because they have no authorized evidence with which to gain knowledge of you. Because their minds are agitated by scriptures containing false conclusions, they are unable to understand the truth concerning you. Furthermore, this is a long verse. Furthermore, because of polluted eagerness to arrive at the right conclusion, their theories are incapable of relieving you, who are transcendental to their material conceptions. You are one without a second, and therefore in you, contradictions like doing and not doing, happiness and distress are not contradictory. Your potency is so great that it can do and undo anything as you like. With the help of that potency, what is impossible for you? Since there's no duality in your constitutional position, you can do everything by the influence of your energy. That's interesting. Purport. So the Lord is self-sufficient, full of bliss. Atmarama. He enjoys in two ways. This is interesting. Listen to this. This is very interesting. He enjoys in two ways. When he appears happy, and two, when he appears distressed. Isn't that interesting? Distinctions and contradictions are impossible in him, as they have emanated from him. There are no limits to his powers, his attributes. There's so nothing abominable from the material world. There is nothing abominable from the material world in him. He's transcendental, so conceptions of material happiness and distress don't apply to him. Second paragraph. We should not be astonished to find contradictions in him. Actually, there aren't any, Prabhupada says. Because he's all-powerful, he's not subject to the conditioned soul's arguments about his existence or non-existence. But rather, he's pleased to protect his devotees by killing their enemies. He enjoys both the killing and the protecting. Right, third paragraph. This freedom from duality appears not just to the Lord, but to the devotees also. For example, the gopis feel transcendental bliss when they're with Krishna, or when he leaves Vrindavan. So there's no question of material pains or pleasures for either him or his pure devotees, although they sometimes say that they're distressed or happy. So one who is Atmarama is blissful in both ways. So that the non-devotees, poor old non-devotees, they can't understand these contradictions in the Lord or in the devotees. Therefore in Bhagavad Gita 18:55, the Lord says, Bhakti mam abhijanati. Now we saw that verse yesterday, we saw it the day before also in many forms. So yes, he says, Bhakti mam abhijanati. Transcendental pastimes can be understood through devotional service. Otherwise, to the non-devotees, they're inconceivable. So Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, Achintya kalu ye bhava natams tarkena yojayet. The Supreme Lord and his form, name, pastimes and paraphernalia are inconceivable to non-devotees, and one should not try to animate such realities simply by logical arguments. They will not bring one to the right conclusion about the absolute truth. 37. A rope causes fear for a bewildered person who considers it a snake, but not for a person with proper intelligence who knows it to be only a rope. Similarly, you, as the supersoul in everyone's heart, inspire fear or fearlessness according to one's intelligence, but in you there's no duality. So purport, Prabhupada refers to Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 verse 11, Ye yatamam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham. As one surrenders to me, I reward him accordingly. He's a reservoir of everything, including knowledge and contradictions. So the example here of the rope and the snake is appropriate. The rope is the truth, but some mistake it to be a snake, which it is not. Similarly, the devotees don't see contradictions in him, but the non-devotees see him as a snake-like source of fear, of all fear. For example, when Nrsingadev came, Prahlad saw him as the supreme solace, but his father saw him as ultimate death. Bhagavatam 11.237, very famous verse says, Bhayam dvitiya binaveshatas yat. Fear results from being absorbed in duality. In duality, people know both fear and bliss. And Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, the same Supreme Person is a source of bliss to devotees and fear to non-devotees who have a poor fund of knowledge. God is one, but people understand the absolute truth from different angles of vision. The unintelligent see contradictions in him, but sober devotees find no contradictions. So they say, with deliberation, one will see that the Supreme Soul, although manifested in different ways, is actually the basic principle of everything. The total material energy is the cause of the material manifestation, but the material energy is caused by him. Therefore, he is the cause of all causes, the manifester of intelligence and the senses. He is perceived as the super soul of everything. Without him, everything would be dead. You, as that super soul, the supreme controller, are the only one remaining. So, Srila Prabhupada's purport. So, Prabhupada refers to the Sanskrit, Sarva Vastuni Vastu Swarupa. These words from the verse indicate that the Lord is the active principle of everything. And Prabhupada refers to Brahma Samhita verse 35. I'll just read the translation. I worship the personality of Godhead Govinda, who enters the existence of every universe and every atom by one of his plenary portions, and thus manifests his infinite energy throughout the material creation. So, yes, the Lord is so great by his one plenary portion as super soul. He's all-pervading throughout all the universes, He's the super soul of every living entity, so he's the active principle of every living entity, and even of the atom. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, he is the actual reality. According to various stages of intelligence, one realizes the presence of the Supreme in everything through the manifestations of his energy. The entire world is permeated by the three gunas, and one can understand his presence according to one's modes of material nature. Well, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So verse 39, therefore, O killer of the Madhu demon, incessant transcendental bliss flows in the minds of those who have even once tasted but a drop of the nectar from the ocean of your glories. Such exalted devotees forget the tiny reflection of so-called material happiness produced from the material senses of sight and sound. Free from all desires, such devotees are the real friends of all living entities, offering their minds unto you and enjoying transcendental bliss. They are expert in achieving the real goal of life. O Lord, you are the soul and dear friend of such devotees who never need return to this material world. How could they give up engagement in your devotional service? So a short purport from Srila Prabhupada, let's just read it. Although non-devotees, because of their meager knowledge and speculative habits, cannot understand the real nature of the Lord. A devotee who has once tasted the nectar from the Lord's lotus feet can realize what transcendental pleasure there is in the Lord's devotional service. A devotee knows that simply by rendering service to the Lord, he serves everyone. Therefore, devotees are real friends to all living entities. Only a pure devotee can preach the glories of the Lord for the benefit of all conditioned souls. Okay, on we go, devotees. Verse 40, which is, gosh, what a big verse. Anyway, okay, verse 40. O Lord, O personified three worlds, Father of the three worlds, O strength of the three worlds, in the form of the Vamana incarnation, O three-eyed form of Nrsingadev, O most beautiful person within the three worlds, everything and everyone, including human beings, and even the Daitya demons and the Danavas, is but an expansion of your energy. O supremely powerful one, you've always appeared in your forms as the various incarnations to punish the demons as soon as they become very powerful. You appear as Lord Vamanadev, Lord Ram and Lord Krishna. You appear sometimes as an animal like Lord Boar, sometimes a mixed incarnation like Lord Nrsingadev and Lord Hayagriva, and sometimes an aquatic like Lord Fish and Lord Tortoise. Assuming such various forms, you've always punished the demons and Danavas. We therefore pray that your Lordship appear today as another incarnation, if you so desire, to kill the great demon Vritrasura. Well, the Lord is not going to do that. He's not going to do that. It's up to Lord Indra. So anyway, Prabhupada says there are two kinds of devotees, Sakama and Akama. Sakama means devotees, typically like demigods, who are, Sakama means with material desires. So they are devotees, but they are demigods because they still want to enjoy material opulence. And then there are the Akama devotees, they're the pure devotees. So the Sakama devotees, they may do pious activities to go to higher planets, and at heart they have a desire to lord it over this world. And they, the Sakama devotees, are sometimes disturbed by demons and Rakshasas. But the Lord is so kind, generally he saves them as incarnations. So, yes. Then the second paragraph, the difference between Sakama and Akama devotees is that when Sakama devotees like demigods are in trouble, they approach the Lord. But the Akama devotees, even if there is great difficulty, great danger, they don't disturb the Lord for material help. If the Akama devotee suffers, he thinks it's just due to my past impious activities. So, okay, I will suffer the consequences. But the Sakama devotees immediately pray to the Lord, save us, as soon as there's difficulty. But still he's considered pious, because they do feel themselves to be fully dependent on the mercy of the Lord. So, very important verse is referred to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8. Tatena kampam susamikshmano, bunjana evatma kritam vipakam, hridvagvapo abir vidadan namaste, jiveta yo mukti pade sadayabak. And Prabhupada gives a type of a translation. Even while suffering in the midst of difficulties, devotees simply offer their prayers and service more enthusiastically. In this way they become firmly fixed in devotional service and eligible to return home back to Godhead without a doubt. Whereas the Sakama devotees, they get from the Lord what they pray for, but they don't immediately become fit to go back to Godhead. Although it is noted here, Prabhupada notes, that the Supreme Lord Vishnu in his different incarnations is always the protector of his devotees. It's just different degrees, different types of protection under different circumstances. So Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, Srila Madhvacharya says, Vividam Bhava Patravat, Sarva Vishnava Bhutaya, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the other incarnations proceed from Lord Vishnu. Verse 41. O Supreme Protector, O Grandfather, O Supreme Pure, O Lord, we're all surrendered souls at your lotus feet. Indeed, our minds are bound to your lotus feet in meditation by chains of love. Now please manifest your incarnation, accepting us as your own eternal servants and devotees. Be pleased with us and sympathetic toward us. By your love-filled glance, with its cool and pleasing smile of sympathy, and by the sweet nectarian words emanating from your beautiful face, free us from the anxiety caused by this Vritrasura, who always pains the cause of our heart. So, a one-sentence purport. Lord Brahma is considered the father of the demigods, but Krishna, or Lord Vishnu, is the father of Brahma, because Brahma took birth from the lotus flower growing from the Lord's abdomen. Verse 42. That's a big verse, gosh. O Lord, as the small sparks of a fire cannot possibly perform the actions of the whole fire, we sparks of your Lordship cannot inform you of the necessities of our lives. You're the complete whole. Therefore, of what do we need to inform you? You know everything, because you're the original cause of the cosmic manifestation, the maintainer and the annihilator of the entire universal creation. You always engage in your pastimes with your spiritual and material energies, for you are the controller of all these varied energies. You exist within all living entities, within the cosmic manifestation, and also beyond them. You exist internally as Parabrahman and externally as the ingredients of the material creation. Therefore, although manifested in various stages at different times and places and in various bodies, you, the personality of Godhead, are the original cause of all causes. Indeed, you are the original element. You are the witness of all activities, but because you're as great as the sky, you're never touched by any of them. You are the witness of everything as Parabrahman and Paramatma. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, nothing is unknown to you. Right, so purport. The Absolute Truth exists in three phases, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, that we know very well. Brahman is all-pervading, Paramatma is locally situated, but Bhagavan is the original cause of all causes. So the pure devotee knows nothing's unknown to the Lord, so the Lord does not need to be informed of the devotee's conveniences and inconveniences. Oh, just in case you're not aware, my Lord, there's some demons harassing us. Could you please intervene? No. The pure devotees know that there's no need to ask the Lord for material necessities. Therefore, the demigods are apologizing for telling the Lord about their problems with Vritrasura. So the neophyte devotee approaches the Lord for relief from material difficulty or for speculative knowledge of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita, we should know, Bhagavad Gita 7:16 talks of 4 types of pious men who may begin or who do begin some form of devotional service. But the pure devotee knows there's no need to pray or worship him for our personal benefit. Yes, verse 43. Dear Lord, you're omniscient, and therefore you know very well why we've taken shelter at your lotus feet, which provide shade that gives relief from all material difficulties, disturbances. Since you are the supreme spiritual master and you know everything, we've sought shelter of your lotus feet for instruction. Please give us relief by counteracting our present distress. Your lotus feet are the only shelter for a fully surrendered devotee and are the only means for subduing all the tribulations of this material world. So, short purport. All we need to do is take shelter of the shade of the Lord's lotus feet. Then all material tribulations will be subdued. Like if you go under a big tree, all your pain from the heat will be mitigated without asking for it. So Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, therefore the whole concern of the conditioned soul should be the lotus feet of the Lord. The conditioned soul suffering from various tribulations because of existing in this material world can be relieved only when he seeks shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. 44. Therefore, O Lord, O Supreme Controller, O Lord Krishna, please annihilate this dangerous demon Vritrasura, Twashta's son, who's already swallowed all our weapons, our paraphernalia for fighting, and our strength and influence. So, Prabhupada in the purport refers to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verses 15 and 16, which we have just mentioned, in fact. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto you. O best among the Bharatas, Arjuna, 4 kinds of pious men render service unto you, devotional service. The distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who's searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So these 4 classes of neophytes come to devotional service for material reasons, to fulfill material motives. They're not pure devotees. But if somehow, gradually they can give up their material desires, then they can become pure devotees. And so the demigods, when they're totally helpless, in total distress, then they come to the Lord and they almost become pure devotees. They admit they're forgetting pure devotional service because of Maya. And then they surrender to him, leaving it up to him what happens. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, such surrender is necessary. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Marabi Rakabi Yo Ichatoha. O Lord, I fully surrender unto your lotus feet. Now, as you desire, you may protect me or annihilate me. You have the full right to do either. Verse 45. O Lord, O Supreme Pure, you live within the core of everyone's heart and observe all the desires and activities of the conditioned souls. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Lord Krishna, your reputation is bright and illuminating. You have no beginning, for you are the beginning of everything. This is understood by pure devotees because you're easily accessible to the pure and truthful. When the conditioned souls are liberated and sheltered at your lotus feet, after roving throughout the material world for many millions of years, they attain the highest success of life. Therefore, O Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we offer our respectful obeisances at your lotus feet, but please, you got to save us. Yeah. So the demigods, they approached the Lord for relief from their anxiety, Lord Vishnu, but now they're approaching Lord Krishna. They know there's no difference between Krishna and Vishnu, but still Krishna comes, paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the devotees, vinashaya chaduskritam, to destroy the demons. It's Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, verse 8. Yeah, so Krishna comes. Yeah, when demons are disturbing the demigods, he comes to punish them and fulfill the desires of the devotees. He is the original cause of everything, Krishna. So he's higher than Vishnu or Narayan, although in another sense they're not different. Prabhupada refers to Brahma Samhita verse 46, which says, I'll just read the translation. Krishna expands himself as Vishnu, the way a bright candle kindles another. Although there's no difference between the power of one candle and another, Krishna is compared to the original candle. And in the second paragraph, let me just read it. The word Mrishta Yashase is significant herein, because Krishna is always famous for relieving his devotee from danger. A devotee who has sacrificed everything for the service of Krishna, and whose only source of relief is the Lord, is known as a Kinchana. Third paragraph, Prabhupada refers to the prayers of Queen Kunti, first Canto, chapter 8. Kunti says the Lord is Akinchana Vitaya. He becomes the property of such a devotee. Yes. Those who have in any of the types of liberations personally associate with the Lord in the 5 rasas. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, these rasas are all emanations from Krishna. As described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the original mellow, Adi Rasa, is conjugal love. Krishna is the origin of pure and spiritual conjugal love. So we come to section 7, the Lord speaks to the demigods. Yes, so we have to go through the verses because there's some pretty major purports in this section. So the Lord speaks to the demigods, verses 46 to 50. 46. Shri Sukadev Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, when the demigods offered the Lord their sincere prayers in this way, the Lord listened by his causeless mercy. Being pleased, he then replied to the demigods. 47. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O beloved demigods, you have offered your prayers to me with great knowledge, and I'm certainly most pleased with you. A person is liberated by such knowledge, and thus he remembers my exalted position, which is above the conditions of material life. Such a devotee is fully purified by offering prayers in full knowledge. This is the source of devotional service to me. 48. O best of the intelligent demigods, although it is true that nothing is difficult for one to attain when I am pleased with him, a pure devotee whose mind is exclusively fixed upon me does not ask me for anything but the opportunity to engage in devotional service. 49. Those who think material assets to be everything or to be the ultimate goal of life are called misers, creepeners. They do not know the ultimate necessity of the soul. Moreover, if one awards that which is desired by such fools, he must also be considered foolish. 50. A pure devotee who is fully accomplished in the science of devotional service will never instruct a foolish person to engage in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, not to speak of helping him in such activities. Such a devotee is like an experienced physician who never encourages a patient to eat food injurious to his health, even if the patient desires it. Verses 46 to 50, it's the Supreme Lord speaking to the demigods. 46, Sri Shukadev Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, when the demigods offered the Lord their sincere prayers in this way, the Lord listened by his causeless mercy. Being pleased, he then replied to the demigods. Verse 47, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O beloved demigods, you have offered your prayers to me with great knowledge, and I'm certainly most pleased with you. A person is liberated by such knowledge, and thus he remembers my exalted position, which is above the conditions of material life. Such a devotee is fully purified by offering prayers in full knowledge. This is the source of devotional service to me. So yes, purport, Srila Prabhupada makes the point that one of the Lord's names is Uttama Shloka. It means the person who has offered prayers with selected verses, like that is prayed to very nicely. In general, bhakti means Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, chanting and hearing about Vishnu. But the impersonalists cannot be purified because they don't offer personal prayers to the Lord. They may sometimes offer prayers, but not to the Lord. Sometimes they show their incomplete knowledge by addressing him as nameless. They offer prayers indirectly. You are this or that, but they don't know who they're addressing. But the devotee always offers personal prayers. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Govinda, unto Krishna. So Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, that is the way to offer prayers. If one continues to offer such personal prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is eligible to become a pure devotee and return home back to Godhead. 48. O best of the intelligent demigods, although it's true that nothing is difficult for one to obtain when I'm pleased with him, a pure devotee whose mind is exclusively fixed upon me does not ask me for anything but the opportunity to engage in devotional service. Yes, so when the demigods finished their prayers, they were waiting. Okay, now, Lord, kill Vritrasura. Okay, yeah, that means they're not pure devotees. But if the Lord is pleased, you can get anything you want without difficulty. But the problem is the demigods want material profit by pleasing him. And the Lord, he wants to help them to progress, actually. He wants them to pray for pure devotional service. but instead they're praying for the chance to kill the enemy. So Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, this is the difference between a pure devotee and a devotee on the material platform. Indirectly, the Lord regretted that the demigods did not ask for pure devotional service. Verse 49. Those who think material assets to be everything or to be the ultimate goal of life are called misers, creepers. They do not know the ultimate necessity of the soul. Moreover, if one awards that which is desired by such fools, he must also be considered foolish. Sure, how's that? That's really amazing, isn't it? So there's a purport here. There are two classes of men, the Kripana and the Brahmana. Brahmana is one who knows Brahman, the absolute truth, so he knows his own real nature. And the Kripana is one who has a bodily concept of life. And a person like that, a Kripana, is always attracted to things made by the modes. So a Kripana in ignorance, if the Kripana asks for something material, then whoever awards it to him is also foolish. But Krishna is no fool. He's supremely intelligent. So if someone comes for material benefits, Krishna will not give them. Yeah. But he gives the intelligence to forget material desires. He takes away the material possessions, gives the person the sense to become a devotee. So the Lord says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 22, verse 39. I'll read the verse too. Ami vigya, e murke, vishaya kene diba, swacharanamrita dia, vishaya bulaiba. Since I am very intelligent, ami vigya, I'm very intelligent, why should I give this fool, murke, material prosperity, vishaya? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. So the thing is, if we pray to the Lord for material possessions in exchange for devotional service, the Lord, who is no fool, favors him by taking away his material possessions and giving him the intelligence to be satisfied by devotional service. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur gives an example, good example. If a foolish child requests his mother to give him poison, the mother, being intelligent, will not do that. Even though he requests it, he may insist. Prabhupada tells a very nice story. One of his sons, when the son was just very small, somehow the son had a fascination with the fan, the electric fan. You know, the electric fan blows air out. And he kept wanting to put his finger in when the fan was just spinning, really spinning. So Prabhupada, on a number of occasions, had to stop him and pull him away. But then Prabhupada explains how one friend was in the house one time and he saw this happen. So he told Prabhupada, no, don't just pull him away every time. What you must do is turn the fan off, and so then the rotating of the blades will slow down, and then when it's quite slow, then tell your boy, God, put your finger in. And because it's going quite slow, it'll give him a knock on the finger, but it's not going to be dangerous. It won't help him. So Prabhupada did that, and Prabhupada said from that time on, the boy never tried to put his finger into the fan again. Yeah, so we have to be intelligent sometimes to teach people that material life is no good and Krishna consciousness is better. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, a materialist does not know that to accept material possessions means to accept poison or the repetition of birth and death. An intelligent person, a brahmana, aspires for liberation from material bondage. That is the real self-interest of a human being. So, okay, verse 50. A pure devotee who's fully accomplished in the science of devotional service will never instruct a foolish person to engage in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, not to speak of helping him in such activities. Such a devotee is like an experienced physician who never encourages a patient to eat food injurious to his health, even if the patient desires it. So, purport by Srila Prabhupada, a fairly extensive purport. Prabhupada says this is the difference between benedictions from the demigods and benedictions from the Lord. Yeah, the devotees of the demigods ask for things for sense gratification. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 verse 20 says that those people, those devotees of demigods, are devoid of intelligence. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Second paragraph, so conditioned souls don't have the intelligence. Because they have so many desires for sense gratification, they don't have the intelligence to know what to ask for. So Shastra advises them to worship demigods for material benefits. If you want a beautiful wife, worship Uma or Durga, the wife of Shiva. If you want to be cured of a disease, worship the sun god. And such requests are due to lust. And all of this will be finished at the end of the material world, along with them. But if we ask the Supreme Lord for a benediction, he'll give a benediction which will help us to go back to Godhead. And the Lord confirms this in Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Tesham sadhatu yuktanam. I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. And in chapter 4, verse 9, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So this is the benediction of Lord Krishna, or Lord Vishnu. After giving up the body, the devotee goes back to Godhead. Third paragraph, sometimes even a devotee may foolishly ask for material benedictions, but Krishna doesn't give it to him, despite the devotee's prayers. So therefore, people who are attached to material life, they don't become devotees of the Lord. Rather, they become devotees of demigods. But the benedictions of the demigods are condemned in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, Antavaktu palam tesham tadbhavat yalpamedasam. It's Bhagavad Gita 7:23. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. So, but a non-Vaishnav is considered a fool with a small brain. So, okay, section 8, verse 51 to verse 55. The Lord tells Indra to approach Dadichi. And there's not much in the way of purports. There's a couple of purports. Let's just read straight through. Verse 51. O Bhagavan, Indra, all good fortune unto you. I advise you to approach the exalted saint Dadyancha, Dadichi. He has become very accomplished in knowledge, vows, and austerities, and his body is very strong. Go ask him for his body without delay. And Prabhupada gives a short purport. Everyone in this material world, from Lord Brahma down to the ant, is eager to keep his body comfortable. A pure devotee may also be comfortable, but he's not eager for such a benediction. Since Bhagavan, the King of Heaven, still aspired for a comfortable bodily situation, Lord Vishnu advised him to ask Dadyancha for his body, which was very strong due to his knowledge, vows, and austerity. 52. That saintly Dadyancha, who's also known as Dadichi, personally assimilated the spiritual science and then delivered it to the Ashvini Kumars. It is said that Dadyancha gave them mantras through the head of a horse. Therefore the mantras are called Ashvashira. After obtaining the mantras of spiritual science from Dadichi, the Ashvini Kumars became Jivan Mukta, liberated, even in this life. So in the purport, I'm not going to go through the thing, but there's some Sanskrit with a translation. You can read that, okay? You read that yourselves. Verse 53. Dadyancha's invincible protective covering, known as the Narayan Kavacha, was given to Twashta, who delivered it to his son Vishvarup, from whom you have received it. Because of this Narayan Kavacha, Dadichi's body is now very strong. You should therefore beg him for his body. Yeah. 54. When the Ashvini Kumars beg for Dadyancha's body on your behalf, he will surely give it because of affection. Do not doubt this, for Dadyancha is very experienced in religious understanding. When Dadyancha awards you his body, Vishvakarma will prepare a thunderbolt from his bones. This thunderbolt will certainly kill Vritrasura, because it will be invested with my power. And verse 55, when Vritrasura is killed because of my spiritual strength, you will regain your strength, weapons, and wealth. Thus there'll be all good fortune for all of you. Although Vritrasura can destroy all the three worlds, do not fear that he will harm you. He is also a devotee and will never be envious of you. Whew. Amazing, isn't it? Supreme personality of Godhead. Very amazing. And there's a purport here. It's right at the end of the chapter. Prabhupada says the devotee is never envious of anyone. Devotee of the Supreme Lord. What to speak of other devotees of the Supreme Lord. And we'll see later as the whole pastime, you could say, of Vritrasura, as it unfolds, we'll see how Vritrasura is such a devotee, amazing devotee. So we don't expect him to be envious of the demigods. Rather, he was just trying to benefit the demigods. And the devotee doesn't hesitate to give up his body for a better cause. So Chanakya says, I'll just read the translation. After all one's material possessions, including his body, will be destroyed in due course of time. Therefore, if the body and other possessions can be utilized for a better cause, a devotee never hesitates to give up even his own body. And to take up devotional service full time is basically giving up your body. So because Lord Vishnu wanted to save the demigods, Vritrasura, although he's capable of swallowing the 3 worlds, would agree to be killed by them. It's coming up. Srila Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, for a devotee there's no difference between living and dying, because in this life a devotee engages in devotional service, and after giving up his body he engages in the same service in the spiritual world. His devotional service is never hindered. And that's the end of chapter 9. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.